Hi, folks. Lara Crigger here, editor-in-chief of VettaFi. So at ETF Database, we've been seeing a lot of interest in our ETF screener over the past few weeks, and I figured that for my next video, I'd give you a quick intro to show you around. So the ETF Database ETF screener is actually a really deep and really powerful tool with lots of nuance and individual levers you can push and pull and so on. But for today, I'm just going to show you the biggest highlights. So let's get started. Just type in etfdb.com into your browser. And once you get to the main screen, you can go to Tools and click on ETF Screener right there at the top. You can also just type in etfdb.com/screener to get here directly. Now, once you're on this screen, you're going to see it load to this default. And over here is a table of all the different qualities and metrics across an ETF that we track. Now, you're going to see some summary statistics in this overview tab here, like expense ratio, and asset class, and 3-month daily volume. In this returns tab, you can look at ETF returns over a 1-week basis, a 1-month, a year-to-date, a 5-year basis, and so on. You can also look up a fund's expenses under the expenses tab where you can see, the ER of a fund and the total assets under management of the fund. In the dividends tab, you can find information about a fund's, dividends, including the dividend frequency and the annual dividend yield and so on. Under the risk tab, you can look up certain metrics like fund PE ratios and volatility and so on and so forth. Under holdings, you can see how many holdings the ETF has and how many are in the top 10%, and how many are in the top 15 and how many are in the top 50%. We even have, some information about taxes and technicals and so on and so forth. Now, we have all of these different tabs here in different columns, but how do you sort through these ETFs to find the one you want? Now, this is easy. All you can do is just check and uncheck boxes, excuse me, on this sidebar, this left-hand sidebar here. So you see the top one at the that is asset class tab. And if you expand it, you can see bonds and equity and real estate and volatility and so on, and select an ETF by its asset class. Most people, when they're looking for an ETF, they think, oh, I want a stock ETF, or oh, I want a bond ETF. So let's click on one here. And if you click on equity, you see you can drill down even further. You can get into whether you want a large cap or a small cap fund, whether you want a growth fund or so on. You don't have to click these boxes, but you can if you want to. And notice that by clicking a single dot here, the equity tab here, we've already started to narrow down our sample size from over 3,000 ETFs. Now we're down to about 2,100 ETFs. So if you click on this and go to the next menu, it's going to remember what you had clicked. So this filter has not gone away just because you're on a different tab. Now, this tab here, under the attributes tab, you can choose things like your active, where you have an active or a passive ETF, or whether you want it to be currency hedged or so on. So let's click passive here. And you see again that even though it didn't, nothing changed in the top ETFs here, it already is starting to narrow down, whittle down a little bit our sample size. Now we're about half the number of ETFs that we were to start. Under issuer and brand, you can choose the ETFs by the company that is putting them on the market. Now, it's important to note that these are separate categories. They are divided this way by our data provider, FactSet, who slices and dices the data this way. This is a little pro tip from me to you. If you're an investor looking for an ETF, based on the company that it has its name on the tin, you want brand. That 9 times out of 10, you are looking for the brand of the ETF. So you're going to find things like iShares and Alps and all sorts of things in here. So another tab here is structure. You can choose whether you want an ETF or an ETN or a grantor trust. And for most cases and most ETFs, this doesn't matter all that much. But it does have some implications when it comes to tax time. So let's just go with an ETF. We'll narrow down for that. You can go to the expenses and dividend tab and start to narrow down custom range of expense ratios. Like, say you only want to look at funds with expense ratios of about 5 bips, 5 basis points. So let's do that. 0.5%, and then click return and look. See how it automatically updated here. And that narrowed us down to 43 ETFs that have all those categories that we had mentioned before, their equity funds, their ETFs and so on and so forth. And they have expense ratios of 5 basis points or less. Under liquidity and inception date, here's where you can choose ETFs based on how much volume they see on a 3-month average basis, what their share price is, what their asset base is. So let's say, a lot of advisors, a lot of investors won't look at ETFs that don't have 100 million in assets or more. That's kind of the back of the envelope liquidity metric that a lot of folks use. So let's try that now, right? Let's put in 100 million as our basement, our floor for assets under management in this fund. And look, now we have down from 3,000, more than 3,000 ETFs to start. We are down to 41 ETFs that meet all of our criteria here. And you probably know a lot of these names. So you can click on any one of these ETFs, hover over them, and you can see that these are manipulable. They're interactable, I should say. You can click on them and learn more about the fund. If you click on it, you'll take you to our fund page for that ETF. So this was just a little taste of how to use the ETF screener on ETFDB. As I said before, I'll follow up with more videos in the future about how to play around with the different levers in the screener and find particular ETF sets according to different metrics. But hopefully this is enough to get you started. If you found this video helpful, please feel free to visit the VettaFi channel on YouTube. And for more news, information, and analysis, please check out ETFDB at etfdb.com. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.